Let's chat.
It's hard.
You want to talk?
I know, that's disappointing.
Sit back. Let's work this
How's
out.
it going?
What are we doing here?
Where are you going? Hey there. Wow.
It's not always easy. It's amazing if you think about it.
Let's think
This
about
seems
this.
strange.
I have some thoughts about that. Life is hard.
Trauma bonded.
T, what do you think about meth?
I think it's highly addictive, probably dangerous, and probably pretty amazing.
The way she described it,
Yeah.
woof. She called it mind-blowing, warm. She felt lovey. Her brain was firing on all cylinders. Her senses were heightened. She was aroused. She was high for 18 hours. The way she described it, I would be hard-pressed to find anyone that felt like they didn't want to try it or have some after hearing that description of it.
Yeah.
Like, watch out, kids. Like, this is an
Is it?
endorsement of meth.
Was this a commercial?
It was a little commercial.
I was glad I didn't have some on my
She like just all the highlights. This is like the opposite of Breaking Bad.
Breaking Good.
Welcome to Trauma Bonded. I'm Elly Westberg here with Therese Garcia. Today we're discussing episode 349 of the podcast. This is actually happening. What if nothing could tear us apart?
Oh, whoa.
Part 1.
Is us?
Donna.
Is us? Who's us?
Donna and Dan.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so it's a two-part episode arc.
Oh.
So next week we're going to hear Dan's version of everything.
Oh my God. I didn't know that.
Isn't that
Oh,
exciting?
cool.
Dan himself came to us from Todd Rennebaum of Buddy Hugs Mental Health Podcast. Shout out to Todd.
Hey, Todd.
Todd. He brought us Dan and Donna and their couple, and it was my big idea because we pre-interviewed them probably back in like end of summer or early fall, and I got in my big brain like we should do a two-parter Valentine's episode.
Oh, that's sweet.
And it's the first time we've ever, or Whit's ever titled an episode with us. He's used I when he did his own episode. This is the first time this is actually happening, is using the word us in a title. Anywho, see, a brief. A young woman swept up in a whirlwind romance who spirals into drug addiction, which takes everything from her. But when a friend, in quotes, comes to help her pick up the pieces, she finds herself in the grip of a psychopath and must find her way back to freedom, recovery, and the love of her life. And this is actually happening summary because I also helped write that one and I couldn't do another one. Full disclosure, I'm the showrunner on This Is Actually Happening, and T doesn't work on the show, but she's still a wonderful person and she comes in fresh. And this show, Trauma/Bonded, is for the listeners, a space where we can talk about each episode, digest it, and reflect on it with empathy and also a bit of levity. That's Trauma Bonded. T, what stuck out to you is the heart of Donna's story.
Thank you, Elly. I went with a single word for this one today. And she used this word quite a bit, actually. Carry.
Carry on away with on. Even when we had to rest. Don't you cry no more.
Oh, flat. She says it during the end. You never know the history someone's carrying, right? So Donna carries a lot, both literally, physically, right? And mentally and emotionally. She carries multiple pregnancies, as does her mother, 5 of which are miscarriages. Donna carries the guilt, survivor's guilt of those miscarriages, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll hear her story with all the substance abuse and everything that happens with her baby taken away, everything that happens with the psychopath and Dan. And she ends up carrying so much trauma, anger, shame, and guilt, right? But we'll talk through all that. But that's why I said the heart of the story is Carrie.
No, it's good, T. It's great.
What was your heart of the story?
Mine was a bit broader. Mine was sort of indicting the modern Western life cycle of a person. I talk about this all the time. I
Oh,
feel like this was especially personified in this episode. So you're born,
uh-huh.
and this is all assuming that you have like you have stable parents, you have a stable home life, etc. Right?
Mhm.
You're born, you come into this world, everything around you is joy and acceptance and confidence
Mhm.
and learning, right?
Truth.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best we can ask to
Yeah.
be brand new in this world. That you get
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
And then you meet all kinds of people and institutions and ads, commercials,
Yeah.
magazines,
Uh-oh.
systems
Oh, no.
telling you that you're sad and a loser and you're fat
It tells you that?
and you have crepe skin on your chest
Well,
and you need contouring
it said that?
and Spanx and Botox and you're dumb and you need Jesus
Oh, yeah.
or a fucking 401 fucking K.
Well, you do.
And all the joy and acceptance and confidence and curiosity is slowly and continuously and repeatedly and relentlessly ripped away from you. And you suffer for years
So you're not a baby anymore at this point?
right now.
Oh.
You suffer for years in disordered eating and sleeping and bad relationships and damaging and dangerous behavior. And you have to rebuild yourself to get back to joy and beauty and confidence and curiosity and to be able to say, I'm enough. This is a terrible cycle.
It seems difficult after all that.
Am I wrong?
And they're conflicting messaging, right? It's like you're fat, but eat Kentucky Fried Chicken, right?
Oh, I think
You need a
confusion.
401k, but buy this new car,
Right.
right?
The conflicting message, I feel like that's all intentional. The confusion is supposed to make you even more confused. It's supposed to make you consume, right? Things in turmoil consume. We're all a part of this system that we can't get away from, and sometimes it's more damaging than others. But I just feel like we're born into this world. There's all of this promise, these things that are
Mhm.
like embedded in your DNA. And then so many systems and people and things try to root it out of you. And then you like have a bad experience because that's not what it's supposed to be.
You're supposed to feel joy,
Yeah.
and you don't feel joy, so you must numb.
So so then
Right,
you go after
numb, numb.
alcohol and
And then I feel
drugs
joy
and
because of that.
sex and shopping or whatever it is,
That's
all
how
the
I'll feel
things.
joy.
And you get to the bottom of that and you realize it's a big empty fucking adventure. And now you're literally starting over with the stuff you were born with: joy, confidence, curiosity. It just seems silly. If this was a business, you would abandon it. But there are so many businesses built around how we suck these things out of people as soon as they're born. In fact, most of our businesses are built around the problems that we have, right? You're concerned about the crepey skin on your chest above your
New
boobs?
skin thing.
I'm sure you have it. Well, now you can get rid of it if you just rub this shit on it.
I don't think I have that.
I don't know how to show it, but it's there. To me, this is really pronounced in Donna's story. When she says all that shit at the end, which is beautiful, that this whole like, I'm enough and I'm beautiful, blah, blah, blah. These are elementary ideas that we get when we're kids, and why does it take us 40 fucking years to grab a hold of them and like actually make them ours? And why do we let ourselves be told by so many other people and institutions and systems and like the onslaught of media or whatever it is? Why do we let all of these things steal this from us just to have to like figure it out and regain it for ourselves and like understand it in a fundamental way that's like truly ours? Oh, for the first time I get it. I'm enough. I watched Barbie and now I get it. I'm enough. I'm enough. I'm we have to have these things told to us again because we get fucking pillaged by every. Yeah. No one makes it out of here alive. That's all I'm saying.
Good hurt, Ellie.
Anywho, her parents met on vacay in Scotland. Never marry someone you've met on vacay. T,
Nope.
this is a rule. You go on vacay, you get knocked up, don't keep the baby.
Just have a fling. Use a condom.
There's a reason they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's not just for Vegas, okay?
Yeah.
You go have a fling in a foreign country or wherever. People are in vacay mode. They're drinking more than they should.
Yeah.
You can believe that that's just how they are on vacation. You don't have to worry about how they bring that stuff back to their own lives.
No.
Don't get knocked up. Don't get married.
Right?
Yes, because what happens was they get home from vacay, and guess what? This is how he is every day. That's not like I'm
Not just
drinking on vacay.
Oh no, I thought, don't you have a job?
Right.
Where?
And now the husband is still living in vacay because men get to do that where she's knocked up. And her father stops drinking when she's 5. And she talks about how he didn't take the work to do it, but he was just a dry drunk. What does that
Miserable.
mean?
Like, he's not drinking.
So the term
Dry drunk. Oh.
say
Oh.
the thing.
Research alert. I feel like I was a dry drunk in January. I don't know what it is. Say it. What is it?
Dry drunk originated in Alcoholics Anonymous.
Wasn't.
Who has quit drinking but still exhibits the negative behaviors and attitudes that were prevalent during their active addiction. So
What's that like?
the way we might use alcohol to cope, instead of finding like new healthy ways to cope, you might just create new unhealthy ways to cope. It's just alcohol isn't one of them. Like we were joking, like, oh, we were dry during January, but we developed a
Great addiction.
cocaine addiction, which we didn't. That was just a joke that we had though about how like it's easy to give up one addiction and just insert another one.
Right.
The whole point of addiction is to analyze why you do that, why you have that behavior, and what you're using it for, why you need it. And if you're not figuring the deeper parts of that out, then you're just white knuckling sobriety,
Right.
and your behaviors are still going to be kind of shitty. Probably.
Like, oh, maybe I'll do some protein shakes and run around, do some exercising. You're like, this just sucks.
Yeah, give me some cocaine.
Yeah, I'm going to play a lot of video games.
Yeah, to earn true sobriety is to really understand where it came from and why you do it, and maybe try to eradicate those underlying needs so that when you like to grow and move forward in your life. Granted, I mean, dry drinking is still better than wet drinking, I guess.
Yeah, I was dry drinking water.
Speaking of drinking, let's talk about the pressure that she felt being an only child with 5 miscarriage siblings. I mean, it's like twofold. It's like the pressure of, hey, you're my only kid, you better fucking rock it. And then the other side of that is the guilt of, you're my only fucking kid, you better rock it.
We keep thinking we're going to have another kid.
You do?
No, in the story. Wait, what are we talking about? In the story, yeah.
And it sounds like her mother was constantly reminding her that she was special. Like there's this like glory that comes with it, but if it's constantly told to you that you weren't what we wanted more, that's got to get to you at some point. The pressure and the guilt. And then like a survivor's guilt, right? Like my siblings keep perishing. You're an only child. I'm the oldest of 3. I didn't have children. I do thank my siblings that they had children so that my parents could have grandchildren. Like that was a relief for me. There's also a relief in like who's going to take care of mom, and well, now my dad's dead, but like who's going to take care of mom? It's nice to know that that shit's shared. And just like when you're growing up, it's the same. Like, oh, I might be fucking up, but I'm not as fucked up as that kid or that kid.
Yeah.
So it's a different pressure to carry
Yeah.
the whole of the dreams and aspirations of
Totally.
parents, right, T?
It worked out. It was perfect. No, I did a lot of lying, so it did work out. It was perfect. That was a joke. Because they didn't know.
Well, you actually were, and they think that you are, and
It kind of works out.
yeah, it kinda works out for you.
But then I was gay. So that's a huge
No,
disappointment.
yeah.
Though my dad didn't know that
Your dad never got to know.
I was gay.
Do you think he suspected?
I don't think so.
He probably didn't even think about it.
Yeah. Dumb. She's just really good at sports and doesn't wear dresses ever. Hates guys.
naturally beautiful or putting a stitch of makeup. But let's be honest,
Never had a boyfriend. She's 26.
I think your mom got lucky in that she never would have enjoyed any of your male partners. If you would have had male partners, your mom would have hated them. Like it's been really lucky for your mom that
Oh my God, lucky for her.
you have a wife.
Yeah. Oh my
Because
God,
she just
so
gets
lucky.
another daughter.
Oh, I know.
She would have hated another son
It's not even that. Like,
or a son.
if she had, I'm a terrible daughter,
Child.
child.
Oh, yeah. No, a son would have, like, if you would have married a man, she would have hated that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So weird to think about. Donna is 15 and an alcoholic, and that's around the time her parents get divorced. And she takes this trip to Scotland, where her mother's from, and her uncle, who has cirrhosis of the liver, is still drinking at the pub every day, all day.
Doesn't make sense. I guess it makes sense, but doesn't make sense. But makes sense, I guess.
It's weird because I can think about that and I can hold two places in my brain about it.
Mm-hmm.
I can go, "Oh, wow, that's really sad." But then there's this other part of me that's like, he accepted it and just leaned into it. And then
Yeah.
he's like, if he knows himself and knows he's not going to recover from it, why not go out living hard the, the way that you love?
Yeah.
What are you clinging
Keep
on
on
to?
doing what he loved.
Is that wrong? Is that unhealthy to look at it that way?
If you're suffering anyway.
I think for most people, if you make it to a certain age, you're probably feeling pretty good about your age that you've made it to. I mean, we're only ever promised like so many years on the planet anyway. So if you're thinking, okay, the average is 75 and I've made it to 60, I mean, that's not bad.
I guess it really depends. If you were able to turn it around,
For what though? What are you turning it around for?
we'd have to get his story. We might be past that at this point.
At this point, she's introduced to MD and MA and speed. Who knew that Scotland was so freewheeling back in the, what's this, 90s? And they got to come back to Canada. And Donna experienced a sexual assault when she was 16. So it brought on this disgust with guys. Fair enough. So she just wanted to party. Do you have anything to say about her working at the club?
I mean, it sounds like a pretty good gig.
Yeah.
You're working at the bar, you get free drinks, getting paid while you're doing it at that age.
So it turns out she's a hell of a litigator. She loves it. She took to it really easily. This is a big turning point for her. And this is where her ego sort of takes over. She thinks she's hot shit. She's financially comfortable. And she's not interested in dudes. Like, this is the best way to be.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And this bitch comes up to her and is like, you should meet Dan.
And Dan. He's a welder. He's got a house, a dog, a truck.
All the things you want.
They're like,
in
not
Canadian.
interested in any of that. That didn't appeal to me in any way. Did that appeal to you? I feel like I'm still pretty good. She seemed impressed, but I wasn't feeling any of that.
He sounds good.
I mean, if you said Dana, maybe, but
And she said they clicked and they partied together and they were like fire and gasoline. That's a great
yeah,
metaphor.
yeah.
And she, even though she was hot shit at her job, like she's neglecting her work to party with Dan.
I get it. You know, we all know those times you're having, you're like, you meet someone, you're like, I'm not, we're not gonna, but then you start Like, I'm going to take the day off. I'll take the day off, let's get crazy.
And then Dan says to you in a cuddle, "Hey, you want to try some meth?"
No, I don't.
Or you say something more like, "What's it like?" And then Dan says, "I'm on it right
I'm
now."
like, what? I'd be so confused. Like right now, like all the time, or like when? What are you talking about?
I know.
It'd be so confusing, right?
Now, at this point, she's supposed to walk away from him, right? Like, okay, looking back on her life, is this
It's a fork. This is a fork.
is this a fork?
I think maybe it's a fork. This is a fork.
Okay,
isn't
now
it?
this is a fork where she's supposed to go, "Fuck you, Dan."
No, just like, you know what? I'm good. She doesn't have to get all like that. She could be like, I'm probably good.
But does she wanna stay with someone that's an active meth user?
Oh no, I'd leave.
Okay, so
That's the fork.
maybe a little
Maybe there's
a
different
little fuck you.
tongs. Is it tongs? In the fork.
Tongs?
Is that a thongs?
Tines.
Tines. I was thinking about thongs.
Tines.
What's a tong?
A tongue is like
Oh, tongs.
tongs.
Tine.
Tines
Tiny tine.
are the spikies of forks.
Okay. So one is yes, which she does. One is no and go.
Yeah,
One is no and stay.
yeah. But meth people can't be with non-meth people. That doesn't work out.
Yeah, you're right, right?
So it's the only answer here is yes, please give me some,
Or no.
or no, I gotta go. Those are the answers. She chose A. And she said it was fucking amazing.
I'm going to go with A.
I wondered what it might be like, and now I know. Please give me some. She loved it. She wanted more. And guess what? They had an endless supply.
Yeah, that seemed dangerous.
Well, let me
It
just say
seemed-
this. A major reason you can do recreational drugs and get away with it your whole life potentially is because drugs are hard to
It's
get.
hard.
As soon as you remove the barrier to drugs and everything is an endless supply, that is when everything will be ruined.
Yeah,
The part where it's hard to get is part of it.
yeah,
If it's no longer hard to get, then that's terrible.
yeah.
And she found out the hard way that she was addicted because when they couldn't get it, when the supply did end, she would bawl and cry and scream about how her night was ruined because she couldn't have it. She still thought she had control, but she had zero control.
That's weird because I'm not addicted to this.
Yeah, as you're reaching your hand into a big bowl of meth, it's easy to say that. Just like you can say, "He's such a lovely guy," when you're on vacay. What you really wanna test who you are as a person,
Yeah.
take away
Not
all
on
of
the
the drugs and the vacay, and
Yeah.
you'll find out real quick who you are, who you're dealing with.
That's why when we're on The Bachelor and whatnot, we're doing all the fun things, right?
Yes,
Yeah, right?
helicopter update.
Yeah, all the dinners. Now when we're back in reality, wait a minute.
Wait a second.
He's not all that interesting at all.
And
actually.
where is the champagne?
Yeah, he can't afford any of that. Do you have a job? What is this?
Can you imagine spending $1,000 a day on drugs?
Yeah, that seems like a lot, first of all. I thought we were trading. This was getting really a little bit technical for me.
Yeah.
Dilaudid and hydromorphs and whatnot. But I thought we were trading. I thought we had all this stuff. And I guess, oh, you're right, because there's
Now
two
part.
for one. 2 for 1. But 1,000 a day?
Dude,
That's a lot.
this is where partnerships are rough because it's like you get to split expenses like rent, but it doubles your drug buys.
I know, 1,000 a day. We were just talking about rent. I mean, 1,000 a day? That's a lot. We were talking about rent and mortgage and stuff.
Yeah.
And we're hitting the 3,000 a month.
Yeah.
We're talking 1,000 a day.
I can't.
How can you? That's 30,000 if you're saying months.
No, I know. She decides to have withdrawals on a camping trip. This doesn't make any sense to me. This feels like maybe they were trying to score before going camping and couldn't. It doesn't feel planned that she would have to go through withdrawals camping. Because we heard about withdrawals in prison, and I'm like, what is worse, to have withdrawals in prison or to have withdrawals camping?
I don't know, I'm just thinking about transpotting and, the baby's on the ceiling. I'm just thinking, like, you wanna be inside in your house. I don't wanna be
In the wilderness with a hole.
no.
No.
I don't wanna be doing that sober or drunk or
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
sounds awful.
And all you want is a fix. So you're not even like pleasant to be around.
It's not even about, like, getting high. It's just about, like,
Getting
surviving.
through, getting
Yeah.
by. And she talks about how her moral compass kept moving trying to get a hold of drugs. Like, what would you do for a fix? The deeper into addiction you get, the more you're willing to do things that you never thought you would do. She was committing credit card fraud, it sounded like, stripping.
Mhm.
She said they were masked up and ready to do an armed robbery.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like they went through it with it.
That's
But they're missing payments on their mortgage and their car. Like everything is toward addiction. They're on 30 pills a day. And this is amidst an opiate crisis. And guess what? Once people know there's a crisis, people respond and kind of shut down these supplies. And there was all this like, is it Oxycontin? Is it fentanyl? Blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get into the details of that. They were taking so much fentanyl.
How are they not dying?
Why
Are
is
they gonna
this?
die now?
Okay, fentanyl is an opiate. Why does something exist that can kill us so easily?
Isn't it for something? Is it supposed to do
It's a
something for
painkiller.
you?
My father was on fentanyl when he was
Okay.
dying.
Then it's for something. That's why it exists.
But it's crazy to think that it's so potent that if you get the wrong amount, even a slight wrong amount of it, it can kill you.
Yeah. It
That's-
seems like they were on that amount, but their tolerance.
But they get denied
That's what-
methadone because they don't realize
They weren't.
it's a whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, just listen
we
to
got.
it.
Yeah, we got.
She
Yeah.
she ends up pregnant. Just this, and she has to. No, she doesn't steal a pregnancy test this time.
There's a lot, so let's just. You're getting. Let's just take a minute.
If you guys don't think that people like women in the midst of addiction aren't taking the brunt of bad behavior, you're wrong. When you're in active addiction, one, there's no happy pregnancy. It's a shock. And two, you cannot blame the woman. This is a person who was involved in activities that she might not have been fully present for. Because the woman has to carry the shame and the obviousness of the pregnancy, she's the one indicted in these bad situations. And it's really fucked up. It's not fair because there's an active party, and you'll see when she's with her next partner and gets pregnant again, it was of no action on her own. She was just a victim in this as well. But she's pregnant and they want to keep it, and they decide they're going to just do minimal use because
They're
they
being
think
responsible,
because withdrawal would be too hard on the fetus.
which is probably true. Actually,
It's probably true. And I remember when my sister was pregnant, she had an OB tell her to keep smoking because quitting smoking might be more detrimental to the fetus than her actually smoking.
really.
Yeah, early 2000s. But finally, through the things, they find out they get approved for methadone, and so they're going to get straight, get clean, be ready for this baby, dig out their financial hole. But her and Dan are fighting. She goes to have the baby, and she mentions that she's on methadone, and this is so sad. She said that she got immediate judgment basically from the staff after she revealed that she was on methadone. They looked at her like some junkie, and she calls herself a junkie like several times through the episode. Like you can tell that she's got a real feeling of shame around this label that people have given her and she's given herself. And she says that the doctor has to choke her out.
Is that necessary? You think?
Canadian healthcare. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Oh,
I don't know.
really?
It happened.
I'm no doctor.
We know. And now she's at home with a baby using methadone. Dan has lost his job because he's abusing the methadone. And now they can't afford the methadone. Guess what it's time for? Little meth pick me up. And just like that, they're right back in it.
Yeah.
Y'all, it's one thing to be an active addiction when it's just you and your partner. It's a whole other thing to try to tame that addiction while you're pregnant. It's a whole other thing to now have a kid to raise and being an active addiction. It's not going to work out well. And they're facing foreclosure, impounded cars, the heat's turned off, there's no phone, Dan's hanging out in the garage doing drugs, Donna's secluded in the house raising a baby. It is a desperate time, and she calls it this loop of the worse it is, the more you use, and the more you use, the worse it is. And don't we know that that is always the truth? What a terrible fucking tumultuous time to live in.
And they end up doing it for years.
For years.
How they maintain it?
But it's just they know it's temporary. They know this isn't something they can sustain, and they've got a kid now. So Graydon is 3 years old. This is when she meets the psychopath for the first time. And he's mad at Dan for talking shit about her. So he presents himself as like this friend and this ally. Do you think that he was lying about what Dan said about her?
Oh, I didn't even think of that, actually.
And that's why I'm here.
I'm too trusting.
And the psychopath can get her meth, and he's someone to talk to. In this time, social services are called. This is her worst fear. And guess what? They show up and they take her son away.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I don't have children, so I would happily give them away. But T, if CPS showed up at your door tomorrow and said, hey, the neighbors called and said there's an unhealthy environment here and we got to take these kids, and there's really nothing you can do, what are you going to do?
I would be exactly like her.
Yeah.
I would be freaking out completely, just like crying, falling, totally inconsolable.
Would you ask that they be sent to me? Or
Anybody but Elly. Anybody.
who would you call?
Well, I mean, I know that you do, and you want to be me to say you, but I would probably say you literally because you're right there, and you are our closest trusted person. And
Yeah,
you're
but you have family that's nearby that have kids. Like maybe
yeah,
they can all
right. You're right. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. No.
Well, maybe just avoid that.
Yeah, I'll try to avoid that.
I mean, in Trump's America, you don't know who's going to show up at your door at some point.
Oh my God.
But I'm here to let you know that if you needed me to take them for a while, we would make the best of it.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I'm just saying, and I think what Donna was saying in that moment is
Not foster
not
care.
foster care.
Definitely not foster
Yeah.
care.
It's scary, man. And the way that Dan deals with it is he continues to get high in the garage, and Donna is angry and she lashes out. And this is the exact sort of situation where a manipulative psychopath, like the psychopath that ends up abusing her for a time, this is when he knows to make his move.
Take advantage. Yeah.
Take advantage of the turmoil and the chaos. And he promises her that they can stay at his mom's, but his mom is like, fuck no. I mean, he's an enforcer and a collector for multiple gangs. He sounds like a scary dude. And this is a person that to her was wearing a hero cape and a friend cape, but finds out into it that he thinks of her as his girlfriend, and she is completely reliant on him for drugs and safety. And he is claimed by her like a pimp. And he loves the psychological torture that he inflicts on people. He fucks with Dan even. And there's a particular incident that Donna remembers herself saying, please don't kill him, talking about Dan. Dan recalls it being said by her, kill him. How they get through, that's a very different
Very different.
recollection
words.
of events.
Yeah. It gets very fuzzy when there's drugs involved. You know?
Ain't that the truth? My next whole page of notes is just like the most depressing shit. This is like
No.
her basically summing up
Mm-hmm.
all of the terrible shit she went through with this psycho for 18 months.
Yeah.
Do you want to just go back and forth?
Okay.
She was a punching bag. He'd use without sharing with her and call her a useless bitch and a useless mom.
Yeah, that was really fucked up.
She always had black eyes. She was choked near passing out. She was sexually assaulted and sorry, trigger warning, but raped repeatedly.
He'd use dull needles
Ugh.
on her, and she thought she deserved it.
Yeah. And he'd call her just another dead junkie. A piece of shit, disposable. And she's thinking, how did this happen? How can I get out now? Like she's dependent on him for everything. She's homeless. She's crying. She wants to die.
But she also didn't want her son to be told that, his mom died a junkie on the streets.
Yeah. Wow, these kids really save her over and over
Yeah.
again. So the psycho gets sent to prison, and
God.
there's a thing where she's kidnapped by two girls.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah. But it kind of works out because they're on drugs, too.
And then she stays with friends, and she abuses opiates again. And it's like, girl,
She's an active addiction,
where is your bottom, though?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Yeah.
And why haven't you hit it yet? No judgment, but other people on the outside might be going,
Yeah.
you've had this helpful hand extended to you, and you abuse it, and you get kicked out, and now you're back with him.
Yeah.
And this psychopath would do these little, seemingly not very heavy things, like throwing out one shoe out of a pair of shoes.
Getting rid of her clothes. Hey, why don't you have any clothes? Because you got rid of my clothes, asshole.
She spent 18 months with him. And then this is how lovely of a person she is. She actually takes a moment
Yeah.
to examine why he is this way. And she has to caveat herself by saying, I'm not trying to justify his behavior,
Yeah.
but this is about trying to understand how a person can end up this way. I think she has to think about this because if she doesn't, then she's going to be left to thinking this is something that she did to deserve it. So she has to understand it for herself. And she knows that he's had a terrible traumatic childhood. He's entrenched in gangs. And he has to find a way to assert control because he has none in his life. And he finds out when he enjoys fucking with people. She's feeling weird again. She steals a pregnancy test. She's pregnant. He wants her to terminate. They fight. She flees. She jumps into this bus. She floods him with her list. I'm pregnant and everything else she hasn't eaten. She's things. And luckily, the manager of buses happened to know what this bitch is going through and gets her into a halfway house. And guess what? T, did you know that in Canada, they value a pregnant woman more than just like a non-pregnant woman?
Amazing.
If I had to guess, I would say that they value a pregnant woman in America more than a non-pregnant woman. I don't know. We seem consumed with fetuses and not really any other stages.
They love them.
People
right.
love
Yeah.
pregnant women.
Yeah. But when they're not pregnant, they hate that.
Hate them. Like,
Yeah.
hate them. They hate them when they're pregnant too, but they gotta take care of that fetus.
Yeah.
That's true. I
That's
can't believe this bitch is attached to this adorable fetus, but I guess we'll have to deal with her until we can get this fetus out.
Yeah.
The world really hates
They
women.
care more about fetuses more than anybody else.
Hey.
Fetuses the most.
Hey, even Canada hates women.
Yeah.
You guys. I know that you all want to move to Canada, but guess what? They hate women there too.
Yeah.
Guess what? They hate women everywhere.
Like everywhere.
Except for that
So-
weird place that Wonder Woman grew up.
Where's that? Is that just in the movies?
It's like New Jersey. But now that Donna's pregnant again, like she knows she's done, especially when she hears from this girlfriend that had a baby in active addiction and now it occasionally stops breathing.
Yeah.
And that was finally enough for her to hit her rock bottom and go, no more. The psycho gets sentenced and Donna's safe, and now the real work begins. And I did talk to Whit. I said, did the psycho give up the parental rights? Because it's not really clear in the story sort of how she's allowed to just take this baby. And
Maybe
he,
because it's a psychopath?
well, he didn't know exactly, but the assumption is that because he was in prison, maybe there's, I don't know. I don't really know, actually. Oh, it's been 18 months since she's seen her parents.
Mm. I was crying through this whole thing.
Oh my God. If you guys have parents that are even remotely normal and you've been wayward or lost because of active addiction or abuse, they will always want to hear from you.
Yeah.
You always can call them. I know people feel like they're not allowed to, that they burn that bridge. That's not how parents work, man.
I was thinking to myself,
Yeah.
the parent.
Yeah, talk about it.
And I was like, if any of my kids came back after any amount of time and that happened and they came back like that, I would open arms and I was bawling. And I was like, 100% would take them back and just like, it's like dying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, of course.
Even if they've
I would take
stolen from you and
all the things.
lied to you and
All the I mean, of course, there'd be work to be done, whatever, but that effort of them coming back, because I'm sure it's so hard for them
I mean,
to
she's
get
in her
back.
30s at this point.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not easy for them to come back. That I would just be like so grateful.
but can you imagine an adult child of yours coming back and then being pregnant again
Oh,
with another man's baby and just, I mean, you can see how the judgment would flow out of people.
oh yeah.
I mean, it makes sense that the mom had to be turned around a little bit, she had a tough time. Dan had a tough time accepting the situation as it was.
But just to be so grateful for them coming back, like they're alive.
That they're alive.
The fear.
I feel like she got emotional in that part too. To be a parent and think that you've lost your child, yeah, for them just to reach out and trust and ask for help. And she hasn't seen Grady in 18 months, and he didn't recognize her.
That too. God. This whole part, it's like,
And she's got serious strife with Dan. Again, we're going to hear from Dan next week. She thinks that she left him for a gangbanger. And it gets ugly. And they drug all of the history up. And she doesn't see her son for another year because of court battles.
because she looks all out of it, right? Because she has
She's
the
having another baby.
her hair's all
Yeah.
crazy. She hasn't slept. It's like, no, I'm not. I'm not actually on drugs again. I'm actually just raising a baby, guys.
And she's in revenge mode.
Yeah.
And she says she's on the edge of relapse because she's angry. And she finds this meditation person, Sarah Blondin. Did you look her up too?
No. Is that the live awake person? Research alert.
Sarah Blondin meditation. She's a meditation. She's a
Oh, yeah, it's the live awake person. Right?
Well,
Yeah, live awake.
let's live awake.
That's what she mentioned.
Oh, yeah. Why are these people always so pretty? Like, did you really?
And she's like 60.
So young.
She's not 65.
Shut up.
That's all meditation, man. You gotta try it.
And Donna talks about having this victim mindset. It's debilitating. That no amount of mourning of a life you lost is going to change it. And she's still feeling like this psycho has control over her and he's nowhere near her. He's not with you. Why does he still have control over you?
Mm-hmm.
And then she wins joint custody with Dan.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God for the pandemic. And I think these are the only people that said that because it actually worked for them. They are in a pod together. They have games. They have dinner. It's like a family reconciled. And then the romantic relationship happens. Dan accepts Kendra as his daughter. And they have to rebuild trust. It's sweet. It's actually really sweet. And now Donna is on the fucking front lines of the vulnerable and the marginalized. She's in the trenches with people trying to figure out where they're going to eat, where they're going to sleep, where are they going to work. And she sees people and what they need and helps them through really tough times. Her final sort of messages are use caution when comparing, which we've said before on the show so much. Comparison is the thief of joy, y'all. Like, don't compare your situation to someone else, and don't blame and don't shame. What I was saying in the heart, she realizes she's beautiful. I am enough. I'm worthy. I'm beautiful. You're born beautiful, and then you're ugly. Drugs, men, crime, disorders, abuse, confusion, and then you're beautiful again. Yay. I'm not trying to poo-poo that. I'm just saying it's just too bad that we have to go through the fucking cycle instead of just like maintaining the I'm enough and beauty and worthy thing the whole time. That's all I'm saying. I'm not mad at anyone. I'm mad at everyone and no one.
Totally mad. And that everybody has a story.
Yeah.
And you don't really know what that story is.
Yeah.
I loved that ending though. It was nice. I just love that transition during the pandemic. The slow, like, hey, maybe just stay for dinner, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, maybe you could
Play a game.
play games then.
Yeah.
You know, I love that.
And like reestablishing the trust, like
Yeah.
learning that both of you are staying sober, learning that both of you are committed to being the best you can for your kids, developing new relationships with your kids. That's
Mm-hmm.
and now they have a podcast together, Dan and Donna. Yeah, it's called Hard Knocks Talks. You can find it on YouTube. But again, we're gonna hear from Dan next week, so we'll be able to talk shit about him. I mean,
What?
discuss
Oh.
his episode. Do you have anything else, T?
Oh. No.
Thank you for listening. This has been an episode of Trauma Bonded. You can find our show or podcasts are kept. Please rate and review us. And thanks to Donna for sharing their story and giving us the opportunity to talk about it. And thanks to the This Is Actually Happening team, including Whit, Missildine, and Andrew Waits. And the maker of our music and website, Nathaniel Tromboli. Thanks to Cathy Sites for editing this episode and to Katy Caple for building those blasted Instagram posts. Please subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/@trauma-bonded-official pod official. It's in the show notes, y'all. You can contact us at traumabondedpod@gmail.com and find us on Instagram at traumabondedpodofficial. We are trauma bonded to the story, to the storyteller, to the listeners, and to each other. Thanks for spending time with us today. Love you, T.
Love you, Elly. Good job. Hey, thank you.
Hey, thank you. Okay. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Trauma Bonded.